They first noticed her because she didn't look scared. Marine Corps Base Quantico had a way of stripping fear out of people or exposing it. The gravel paths, the iron smell of sweat and oil, the endless barking of orders that cracked through the air like rifle shots. New recruits usually arrived stiff, eyes darting, shoulders tight. Some tried to look tough. Others looked like they were already calculating how much pain they could survive before quitting. She did neither. She stepped off the transport bus with a calm that didn't belong to a beginner, an swagger, an nervous energy, just a quiet awareness, like she was already memorizing the terrain. Her name on the clipboard read, Reyes, age, 32 prior service. None declared. That last line was a lie, but a very legal one that Staff Sergeant Miller was the first to scoff. 32, he muttered, scanning the list. What is this, a midlife crisis parade? A few Marines nearby chuckled. She's going to break by week 2, Corporal Henson said, eyes dragging over her frame. Seen it 100 times. Reyes stood at attention while the insults floated around her like dust. She didn't react, didn't stiffen, didn't glance away. She breathed slowly through her nose, because this wasn't her first base, or her second, or her fifth. This was just another uniform. Another test. Another lie she had learned how to wear point 10 years earlier. She'd earned a trident under conditions most of these Marines would never survive. She had bled in deserts where radios failed. She had dragged wounded teammates through alleyways while bullets chewed concrete inches from her face. She had made decisions that would never be written down, decisions that haunted her and saved lives. But none of that existed here. Here, she was just a new recruit. The shouting started immediately. Move, move, move. Reyes moved, not fast enough to look suspicious, not slow enough to draw attention. Perfectly average. That was the trick. In the barracks, the whispers began. She's too calm. Did you see her posture? But she washes out. One Marine, Private Collins, decided to test her at AS. They were lining up for gear issue. He deliberately shoulder-checked her hard enough to knock most people off balance. Reyes absorbed the impact like a shock absorber, feet adjusting without conscious thought. She didn't stumble. Collins blinked. What the hell? He muttered. She turned slightly, just enough to meet his eyes. Careful, she said softly. Floors are uneven. No anger. Challenge. That somehow made it worse. By day 3, the instructors noticed something else. She never complained. When others shook out their hands after push-ups, she didn't. When they're breathing ragged during runs, hers stayed controlled. When they collapsed at night, she sat on her bunk, quietly stretching like someone preparing for tomorrow instead of surviving today. During hand-to-hand combat training, the problem finally surfaced. The instructor paired her with Lance Corporal Briggs, 6'2", loud and eager to prove dominance. Don't go easy on her, the instructor barked. She signed up same as you. Briggs grinned. Oh, I won't. They squared off. Reyes raised her hands. Wrong stance, a Marine stance, not civilian. The instructor's eyes narrowed slightly. Begin. Briggs lunged, swinging wide. He expected panic. Flinching. Retreat. Reyes stepped inside the punch in one smooth motion. She trapped his arm, twisted her hips, and dumped him onto the mat so hard the sound echoed through the gym. She released immediately and stepped back. Silence. Briggs lay there stunned, air knocked from his lungs. The instructor stared. What the hell was that? Someone whispered. Reyes shrugged lightly. Instinct, sir. The instructor didn't respond. He just reset the drill and watched her like she was suddenly a math problem that didn't add up. By the end of the week, the nickname started circulating. Ghost. Because no one ever saw her coming, and no one could figure out where she'd learned to move like that. The harassment escalated. Some Marines didn't like feeling outclassed by someone who didn't brag. Someone older. Someone female. One night in the barracks, a group surrounded her locker. You think you're special? One sneered. Reyes looked up slowly. No. Then why do you move like you've killed someone? The room went quiet. Reyes closed her locker. I move like I don't want to, she said. That shut them up, but only for a moment. The breaking point came during a night navigation exercise. Low visibility. Heavy packs. No instructors nearby. Someone shoved her from behind. She rolled instinctively, coming up on one knee, scanning for threats before she remembered where she was. Point three Marines stood there grinning. Relax, Ghost, one laughed. Just messing with you. Her jaw tightened. Years of conditioning screamed at her to neutralize. To end it fast. She didn't. She stood slowly, but her eyes gave her away cold. Focused. Lethal. Point one Marine took a step back without realizing why. The next morning, rumors were everywhere. She's dangerous. She's hiding something. By week 3, Staff Sergeant Miller had had enough. He called her out in front of everyone. Reyes, front and center. She marched forward, stopping exactly where she should. Miller circled her like a predator. You think you're better than my Marines? No, Staff Sergeant. You think you're smarter? No, Staff Sergeant. Then why do you move like you've done this before? She met his eyes. Because some of us learned faster than others. A few gasps. A few snickers. Miller's face darkened. You got a mouth on you. Yes, Staff Sergeant. He leaned in close. Who the F***CK are you? For the first time, Reyes hesitated. Not because she was afraid, but because answering truthfully would end everything. I'm exactly who the paperwork says I am, she replied. Miller stared at her for a long moment. Get out of my sight. She turned and left, but the damage was done. The Marines didn't know it yet, but they had already crossed paths with something far more dangerous than a new recruit. They had met a woman who had survived a decade as a Navy SEAL and learned how to disappear inside plain sight. The command meeting was not scheduled. That alone made it dangerous. The T-0500, before dawn burned the fog off Quantico's training fields, 3 senior instructors stood outside Battalion HQ waiting. Staff Sergeant Miller was there, jaw tight. Captain Rowe arrived last, coffee untouched in his hand, eyes sharp with the look of a man who already knew something was wrong. They'd all seen it. The way Reyes moved, the way she listened instead of reacted, the way she never wasted energy. Captain Rowe dropped a thin folder on the table inside the briefing room. Explain this, he said. Miller flipped it open and froze. The folder wasn't thick, but it was heavy. Redacted pages, time gaps, classification stamps layered over one another like scars. What the hell is this? Miller asked. Rowe didn't answer immediately. You ever were joint ops? He asked instead. Miller nodded slowly. Once. Afghanistan. You ever meet people whose records don't exist? A pause. Yes, sir. Rowe tapped the folder. Then you already know who she is. Miller swallowed. You're telling me that new recruit is not a recruit? Rowe cut in. Not really. Another instructor leaned forward. Then why is she here? Rowe's voice lowered. Because someone high enough decided she needed to be. Outside, Reyes was already running 0.5 miles. Pre-dawn. Alone. She felt it before she saw it. The shift in the air. Marines standing a little straighter. Eyes tracking her longer than usual. Respect or fear. Sometimes the two looked the same. When Miller called her name again, it wasn't with anger. It was with caution. Reyes. Captain wants you. She followed him without a word. Inside the room, Captain Rowe studied her carefully. At ease, he said. She didn't relax completely. Old habits didn't die. They went dormant. Do you know why you're here? Rowe asked. Yes, sir. Then say it. She hesitated only a second. Because I stayed invisible too long. The silence stretched. Rowe exhaled slowly. 10 years, huh? Her eyes flickered, just once. So you do know, she said quietly. We always know, Rowe replied. Eventually, Miller stared at her like he was seeing a ghost solidify into flesh. You're telling me Reyes corrected softly. I was a Navy SEAL. The words landed like a controlled explosion. Miller laughed once, sharp, disbelieving. No offense, but you don't. Rowe cut him off with a raised hand. She doesn't need to look like anything, he said. She already did the job. Miller's face reddened. Then why let my Marines treat her like that? Reyes answered before Rowe could. Because that's how you see people who don't announce themselves, she said. And I needed to see if anything's changed. Rowe leaned back. Has it? She thought about the shove in the dark. The laughter. The challenge in Miller's eyes. No, she said. But some of them are learning. The next exercise was live-fire coordination. Reyes was placed in a fire team with Marines who still didn't know. Halfway through the drill, communications failed, simulated ambush, panic rippled. Reyes took over without raising her voice. Cover left. You, flank wide. Don't rush. Breathe. They listened. They always did. When the drill ended, the instructor blew the whistle slowly. That, he said, was flawless. The Marines turned to look at her point. One finally asked the question out loud. Who the hell are you? Reyes wiped dust from her gloves. Someone who's been where you're trying to go, she said. That night, no one touched her locker. An O1 joked. An O1 tested her. Instead, one Marine approached quietly. Hey, Ghost, he said. I'm sorry. She nodded once. Learned faster than I did. Word spread. Not officially. Never officially. But Marines talk.b, why the end of the week, respect replaced mockery. Silence replaced doubt on her final day. Captain Rowe handed her a sealed envelope. Orders, he said. She didn't open it. Thank you for the lesson, she said instead. Rowe smiled faintly. You were never meant to stay. She paused at the doorway. For what it's worth, Miller said gruffly, you scared the hell out of us. She smiled, just a little. Good, she said. Means you're paying attention. She walked out as quietly as she had arrived. In O ceremony, in O applause, in O record. Just a Marine base that would never forget the day they asked the wrong question. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one who doesn't need to tell you who they are. You've been watching her brave stories. If this story hit you, subscribe for more powerful, true-style military stories. And don't forget, where are you watching from? Tell us in the comments.